Oh, here you are. So we can hear you. You are very big. Everybody sees you from Trieste. We are about 400, 500 people. And we would like very much to deal with all this crap that we are hearing from the media and the internet and everything in these days. So do you have a crap detector?
Well, I try to think critically about what I find on the internet as well as what the media tells me. And I think that we now have tools, if we learn how to use them, and they're not that complicated, to do a little bit of investigation on what we're told. And this is a pretty new thing, because before the internet, in the age of print, we had a lot of trust in the authority of the text. When my daughter started writing her papers in middle school, was around the same time that search engines came in, and I sat down with her and I said, for the last 1,000 years or more, when you got a book to do a paper and you took it out of the library, you knew that there was an author and an editor and a publisher and a librarian and maybe a fact checker who tried to determine whether that book was authoritative. And we pretty much trusted the authority of the texts that we get from libraries. Now, of course, you can get the answer to any question pretty much anywhere you are on Earth within seconds, which I still think is miraculous. But it's now up to you, the consumer of that information, to determine whether that answer is good information or bad information or misinformation or disinformation. And I think there's nothing that we can or actually should do about policing the quality of information that people put online. We wouldn't have the web if there were some kind of rules about what you could put on the internet. But I think what we can do is educate people about the need to think critically about the information that they find online. Just as we always should have thought critically about what we read in the newspaper and see on television.
Yeah, so it's not that the internet makes us stupid. If we are stupid, and that's it. But if we deal with the internet, and you just came out also in Italy with a new book that is about being why the internet makes us more intelligent in a way, we deal with a challenge to our capability to overcome our stupidity. Is that correct? Is that your idea?
Well, yes. Europe was illiterate for the most part before Gutenberg. There was an elite who learned how to read and write, and there were, I think, about 30,000 books in Gutenberg's time, and then 50 years after the invention of the press, there were 30 million books. And suddenly the population that had forever been illiterate became literate. So they learned how to access knowledge and to share knowledge in ways that weren't possible before. That learning, that intelligence, that literacy, it didn't come from the printing press. It came from learning to read and write. And the internet has a great many capabilities, and there are a great many things that I think we should criticize about what the internet has brought into our life. But we really shouldn't talk about the internet making us stupid. We really should talk about how do we educate ourselves and become literate to use this new medium.
That's for sure. I guess everybody here agrees with that. Also because we are a strange country. As you may know, we have the last statistics about functional illiteracy in Italy are amazing. We have 47% of our population which is functional illiterate. Means that they can read, but they don't understand what they read. In Germany is 15. In Mexico is 48. And we are also the European champion for television. Our country is the biggest market for advertising in television of Europe, not in percentage, but in absolute numbers. Do you see a relationship between this much television and functional illiteracy?
Well, you certainly don't need to know how to read or to understand what you read in order to enjoy television. And with all of the good things that television brings us, it essentially turns the people who watch it into passive receivers whose only choice really is which channel to watch. They assume that all of the culture that they consume is created by someone else. What we have now is an opportunity for many people, and many Italians, to become creators of at least part of the culture that they consume. The issue for the society is how are we going to bring literacy to more people, and those people who are illiterate, who get their information from television and from radio, are really at the mercy of the claims of the people who own or who buy time on those. And so, again, I think one of the issues about democracy is if you trust in democracy being that most people, the majority of the population, somehow can make intelligent decisions, then you need to worry about how many of those people's decisions are influenced by public relations and by advertising through media, because they are unable to ask questions about what they're being told.
So, I mean, this is going also to change because the internet is there. The television is no more the absolute queen of the media, but now the internet is there. One thing that I was wondering, Howard, is not about Google challenging our ability to be critical, but the social networks. I mean, being together with others and connect to others can be a way to become more critical, but also a way to become more homogeneous to the others and do whatever the others do, like what happens in filter bubbles. What do you think is the major effect of the new, not very new now, environment with all this social network usage?
Well, I think it's important to note that humans have taken advantage of and lived in social networks for a very long time, long before Facebook came along. The internet and Facebook take advantage of that aspect of our sociality, and people have always gotten news and rumors and gossip from other people. Now it is particularly important that we understand the nature of the networked world that we live in. So one of the literacies in my book is about network know-how. And one of the things that I talk about is about cultivating the network of people you pay attention to. It used to be your family and your neighbors and the people you work with. Now, of course, you and I are talking. Our connection is that we have found each other through the network because we share an interest, and many people are able to do that. We are cultivating social networks of people. We receive information about political issues, about health issues, about gossip about celebrities. It's important not only to learn how to think critically about the information that we receive from others, to think critically about the rumors that we pass along, but to include people in our networks who we consider to be honest and intelligent, but with whom we disagree. I think it's very important to listen to people who annoy you. They annoy you not because they are ignorant, but because you don't agree with what they say. If we don't have contact with disagreements, we really can't begin to determine what is true and what is rumor and what are we being led to believe. And I think it's very important for people to learn to cultivate personal learning networks for their own capability of learning, but also to enrich democracy by enabling us to have communications with people we don't agree with. Democracy is really about people who don't agree having some way of talking with each other and finding a compromise. If we all retreat and listen only to sources that we agree with, I think that's going to be a big problem for democracy.
I absolutely agree, and thank you for putting up this, because we are talking a lot about democracy and the internet, and of course we need something that helps us not only be more critical in terms of access to information, and in order to be more critical, one thing that we can do is to read your book, but also we are wondering, and many of us are working on an idea, which is still an idea, and I would like very much to understand, to listen to you react to this idea. The idea is, could we be able to create a platform that challenges us to be more critical in a way that is embedded in the platform? Every passage of the platform tells us, wait a minute, what are you doing? What are you sharing? Why are you doing it? Or with what kind of methodology you're sharing this information. Is that something that could work?
I think that the technology is there. I think when you remember when science really became organized in the age of Gutenberg, when you reported a result, you were also supposed to report what equipment you used and what procedures you used and how you measured it, so others could test it and see whether what you were reporting was correct. I do know there was some research a few years ago by a researcher at the University of California who had a web browser add-on that would look at a page, and if there were factual claims on that page, it would look through the internet to find others who had different opinions about that factual claim, and it would alert you, and you could click on a little link that would say, here are people who have different opinions about that factual claim. It's not really telling you what's right, but it is pointing you to people who disagree with what you're reading. That can be done. Unfortunately, that researcher was hired by Google, and the technology has yet to surface. Whether Google decides that they're going to build that into their web browser or not, I think it's worth others thinking about. It's pretty easy if you can build a browser add-on that to get people to adopt it. One of the great geniuses of the architecture of the internet is that you don't have to go ask anybody's permission to create a browser add-on, and then you can use the power of the internet itself to go search for others who make a similar claim or who dispute that claim. Well, so I think that's a start.
Thank you very much, Howard Rheingold. His book in Italian is Perché Internet ci rende intelligenti, Raffaello Cortina. Thank you very much from Trieste.